veins, I've been driving this train. Years in this lane, there's no stopping this flame. Cause I came to the game and I changed it to play how I like, rearranged it to my own domain. Yeah, I got what it takes, made lots of mistakes, taking shots, skipping breaks, feeling lost, feeling...
Welcome back to the channel. Thank you guys for tuning in and subscribing and spending some time with us here in the Bad Influence Garage. Now, let's get right into it because we are going to have a very busy episode. Normally, you guys will see me we're going to take maybe 1 or 2, sometimes 3 little projects, and we go through them and explain a whole bunch. But I've been falling behind on a bunch of little projects. So this week is Greg's Getting Stuff Done Weekend. I have a list here of a bunch of different things that I've got maybe partially done or I've got maybe tacked together and we have to finish it, and we are going to start knocking stuff out. So I'm going to jump behind the camera here, go over some of this list, and we're going to take this week and we're going to knock out as many of these as we can. So follow along as we start crossing things off. All right, so this is a list I threw together in about, I don't know, I'd say maybe 20 minutes of different things that I have to work on. I have the throttle linkage we still have to build. I need to mount our fuel cell. Our front shock sensor, I have to make new mounts that go down on the control arms. The intake air temperature, I need to mount that into our merge. I need to weld the intake merge to the V-band. We have a brace that needs to go on for the master cylinder. Our front end mount extension needs to go on. You guys are going to see what that is. I need to finish welding the steering. Now you guys are going to see here, we actually redid the steering. We're going to go over that. I need to mount and modify the seat that's going in there. I need to machine the second valve cover that you guys saw that we were making different deals for. I need to machine and build the fuel rails, welding the fittings and everything on there. I need to finish the fuel cell, put the fittings and the cap on it. I need to finish welding the upper intake. We might not see that one in this video. I need to mount the crank trigger we have. I need to mount our travel limiters. I have to cut the passenger side manifold V-band off so we can start building the hot side coming up soon. And the master cylinder fill lines, I need to make new press-in pieces out of aluminum so we can actually run a stainless steel line off of it instead of the plastic pieces that are there with rubber lines. From this angle, you can see that up here, we no longer have the steering coming down above the headers. If we move this, you can see the steering is actually coming down low, and we went under the manifold. How we did that is I came up here and I cut this back. That was able to give us the correct angle on the U-joint right here to go down, under, and come out at a nice area there. So, since this is all kind of tacked together to make everything work, we're going to take the steering off and we're going to get everything that needs to be welded on there, and then also go ahead and where our heim joint is down here, right there, we need to get that tab welded on as well. Got the steering welded up. We had to weld up inside the cab. We had to weld one up in here and then the one up at the front. We've got, as you saw, the heim joint, or the steering stabilizer as I like to call that. That's welded on down there, and everything's on nice and tight, bolted in. So head to the board. All right, so finish welding steering. Done. Since we're on the driver's side already and at the front of the car with the welder out, let's go ahead and let's do our front end mount extension and our master cylinder brace. Let's head back over. I'll show you what the master cylinder brace is and that front end extension. We're going to knock both of those out real quick, And okay, up here at the front. Now, a couple episodes ago, you saw us build everything up here to mount the front end. Well, we know we're going to be having a decent sized fuel cell that's going to sit right here. So sometimes it may be hard to see these when you're putting the front end on. So I made an extension piece that's going to go and slip. I actually put slots in it, and it's going to sit right in like this. So we're going to weld this in, and we'll probably put maybe a small brace on the bottom of this as well. That way when we go to put the front end on, it'll hit this and it'll slide on there and go on nice and smooth. Okay, so here is our master cylinder, and it has a little bit of wiggle there, if you can see how it can kind of flex. So when we're hitting the brakes, we don't want any flex in that. So we run a master cylinder brace, and it gets welded in. We would usually kind of put it in this area down there, but we're actually going to be running our line lock back here. So we're going to mount it to our 1.5-frame rail that we had put in, and it's going to come, we'll have to cut it, modify it. We're going to put it right in like this at an angle. Boom, boom, boom. It's gonna go like that. I don't like this bolt that hits it right here, so we might actually make a bigger flat washer than weld to this, so that way it has more surface area to press on this. So let's go ahead and run over to the lathe, see what we have for material. Let's modify this. We'll cut this down, get it tacked in there, and then we'll do that front bar. So I did the YouTube newbie deal, and when I turned my camera on, I actually turned it off and didn't see that I did that. So I didn't get the welding, but I do have a reenactment for you. Here you go.
Better change my mindset, meditate. It's pretty cool that I'm alive and have better days. I could walk, see, hear, I should celebrate. Think I could change my mind, maybe elevate. Living life.
So, got this piece on. Let's take a look real quick. Bam! Right on there. Okay, so now we need to move to the front and get this bar up here. So we have our master cylinder brace on. You guys got to see my live action on that. And right now we just finished up the front end brace. So when we go to put the front end on, it'll actually hit this bar and it'll allow us to slide in, and we won't have to, be able to see everything. I am going to go back through and just hit this with a file or a grinder. There's a little bit of a burr on the welds right there. I just want it to go on smooth, but this thing is pretty solid. I can grab this and shake the whole car, even shaking the camera. So that's 3 things. Let's go back to the board and see if we can knock out one more. That way I can come in on Saturday and knock out some of those ones that are going to take a little bit longer. All right, so we have the master cylinder brace done, front end mount extension done. Okay, so like I said, it's getting a little bit late. Let's find something that we can knock off here fairly quickly. Cut passenger side manifold V-band. Let's go take that manifold off. Usually on a 3.5 inch bend on there. You can do a pie cut, but you can only maybe do from where it's cut to the outside of the bend about 4.5, maybe 5 inches to try to get it as tight as possible. So let's go ahead. I'm going to measure from the firewall up probably about that 4.5, 5 inch area. We're going to cut it there. Well, that went about as smooth as my high school dating career. So, yeah. But we got to cut off. We got some more room, and we're not going to be putting a V-band on right here. We are going to be putting like a 90 or whatever we need to do to get it here. We may even actually have to cut this back a little bit this way to get something on here. We're probably going to have to form fit this tube into whatever we're going to put there, so we can come this way or up or wherever we're going to mount the turbo over here. So, but we got that done. Cool, so there we go, cross that one off. First night working this weekend on my Gettin Stuff Done Weekend. My list that I was able to cross 4 things off. It's about midnight right now, so I'm gonna go home and sleep for about 8 or 9 hours or something like that, come back here, and we're probably gonna start with mounting the intake air temperature. We have to weld the intake merge to the V-band for the throttle body. And then, yeah, we're probably gonna get to this interior seat. And we're going to show you guys that when I come back in the morning. Okay, so day number 2 on weekend of Gettin Stuff Done. So I went home, got some sleep. It took me a while to get to sleep, so I don't think I fell asleep till like 3 a.m. But came in today about noon. Now we're ready to get things done. So what we're going to tackle first today is mount and modify the seat. What we're going to have to do for the modifying on that is we've already cut the seat at the top of it down to fit in the car. And I might have to raise the seat up a little bit more or maybe forward, anything like that. So the mounts may have to change on there, but if we raise it up or anything, we're going to have to trim that. And then for the actual seat cover to fit, we're gonna have to narrow the top up because it's at an angle like that. So we're gonna narrow that, and I'm probably gonna take and weld a tube or something on the top of it, so that way the seat cover doesn't get ripped on there. Since we're gonna have the aluminum welder out for the seat and the tube on the top, I'm gonna go ahead and do the welding of the intake merge to the V-band, and in that merge is where we're going to put our intake air temperature sensor. So we can go ahead and knock those 3 things out with the aluminum welder. If we have some time for the fuel rails, because we have to machine and build the fuel rails, we also need the aluminum welder set up to weld the fittings on there. So we might jump onto that as well, but let's see. Up here you can see we had to trim the top of the seat to clear everything. If we moved it out maybe half an inch, we could come up probably another ½ inch. My seating position in here was pretty good, but you know what? We can always make things better. I'm gonna go ahead and put the new seat cover in. Before I was not running a seat cover just because I just didn't think it was comfortable, and the old seat cover I had I just didn't like. We have a new updated seat cover, and I'm probably going to see how everything fits, and our side pieces right here and here we may actually make an adjustment to and kind of bend in a little bit to hold me a little bit better, because when we were in our wreck last year, this is what actually threw me around, was up top here, not in the bottom that much. So let's go ahead and get this in, see where everything is at, and I'll even show you the new steering wheel. Okay, so actually, I don't know if I'm gonna have to move it much. Where the steering position is, I have a nice bend in my arm, so I'm not way out like this. So for control, I'm liking that. I can still get my shifter. The pad actually has lifted me up just a little bit, where I have decent headroom in here. We may not actually move the seat at all, so that's good. We will have to still modify the seat up here, because I want this to sit nice and flush, and I want it to be able to pull down. So what we're going to have to do is we're going to modify this seat, and we're going to narrow it, and then I'm going to have to take this seat cover over to a local upholstery place with the seat and have them fit it to that, so that way it'll fit correctly. But this is actually pretty nice. So this is the new steering wheel setup that I have. It is a Grant steering wheel, and we did have a 4-button setup on there, and it is actually wired. This is kind of, there's some other people that make these. I kind of designed my own just because I like to design things. So it is an 8-pin setup down here. It has a quick connect, and then that goes to a spiral cord that'll go to all of the functions on there. We have 4 buttons on there. This is going to be trans brake. This is going to be our staging or bump button. This is for the parachutes, and this is for that, oh no, somebody might be out in front of me scramble button. But yeah, this is nice. I think we can make this work. Over at the fab bench, I mounted our seat to our fixture table with a couple of 3/8 bolts and some of our inserts that come through there. So we can try to figure out how to get the seat cover so it'll fit all the way down to here once we go have it upholstered and changed. Now, the issue that we have is this normally comes up and makes it narrower right here. So we need to figure out how far down we need to bring it so we can kind of come up with a place to cut it. And then I have an idea. This has a round kind of tube to give it strength and also make sure nothing rips. I have an idea to actually put that back in on the top. So let's go ahead. I'm going to cut away here. Let's figure out what we need to have for measurements. There we go. So as you guys kind of saw, I'm having the worst luck with saws this weekend. So I cut away and we went about it a little bit of a different variety that we'll just say we don't need OSHA to see. So went ahead, cut it down. Now this is gonna come down and it's gonna sit nice in there. Just like that. As you see, this is why we're gonna have it done. We're gonna have to have material taken out in this area here to bring it down. Now you see it is still a little bit big there because I do have some piping that I'm going to put in there that should make it a little bit better, but I think this is going to work. Now, so if we put our measuring devices on this, we're getting right about 3/8 of an inch. The material is about 1/8 of an inch. So 0.125 and 0.375. This is actually coming out at about 0.385 in that area. So I was going to try to find some hollow tube that's 3/8. That's not happening, not around here at least. So I'm going to take some solid 3/8 rod. We're gonna go put it in the mill, and we're gonna mill an 1/8 inch groove nice and deep in this, down it. We'll cut it to length first, mill it, and then we're gonna go ahead and put it up on here, tack weld it, and then we're gonna get a bend on there. We'll tack weld it, and we're just gonna form fit it around there with the groove in it, and that's going to then take up that little bit of extra room and make it nice and safe. there we have it. It is off a little bit side to side. This came down a little bit more straight, where this had a little bit more of an arc, but it will be covered up by the cover. I'm pretty happy with the way that turned out. The nice piping on there. We welded the entire front of it, and it's gonna be a nice little piece. I'm gonna go ahead and clean up this table a little bit, and then we're going to get our throttle body and V-band and everything kind of set up here to get that welded for the next project. Then we'll head back to the board. So now we are going to go ahead and weld our 5-inch to dual 4-inch. This is a billet merge. This is from Race Part Solutions. They make these. They make them in a bunch of different sizes. And this is our V-band for our Wilson throttle body. So the Wilson throttle body has a O-ring on one side and a receiver on the other. This is going to be the one with the O-ring. So when you weld these, make sure you take the O-ring out. All right, so to kind of set one of these up, I actually use these clamps, and I'll have one over here and one here to push it down. I'll go ahead and I'll tack one side, and that's why we have everything pushing down, because when it cools, when you stop welding, it could start to lift, and we don't want that, so we'll hold it down. But I'll put a decent little tack on one side, and then I'll come over and I'll do a tack on this side and let it cool for just a bit, and then I'll take and I'll hit, you know, this side, and then we'll go and then we'll fill the rest in. Since we have this clamp down to cool, since we just got done welding it, we need to put in our intake air temp sensor anyways, so we can kind of give that a little extra crank. That's going to hold it down, and we have that holding it down while it cools to try to make sure there's no warpage. Intake air temp sensor, we're just going to be using a basic like GM style intake air temp sensor just to monitor it. I'm going to go ahead and we're going to put it like, that's still warm, so let's use this. We're going to put it pretty much right in this general area. I'm going to take some measurements, make sure that we're not going to have a hex issue in the butt of this right here, for when it goes in. But in this general area, because when both intakes are coming in, it's going to come right across it, and then we're going to get the best kind of an average of what's going in there. All right, so we can cross off the intake air temp sensor. We can cross off the welding of the intake merge. And actually, I have a little surprise for you guys, because we can cross off finish welding the upper intake. Yeah, while I was doing that aluminum welding, I went ahead and finished the aluminum intake at the top for that. And I also got it painted. So let's show you that intake. And then I'm going home, because I'm going to come back tomorrow and we're probably going to tackle that fuel cell, see how much we can get crossed off of here. Here it is. This is the design that I've been working on for quite a while. And I went ahead and painted it and made everything nice. This is going to be our EFI intake manifold. We have the dual 4s into single 5-inch, the Wilson 123 millimeter throttle body, and then this is 5-inch into our intake manifold with the magnesium blower manifold that we machined last weekend for our fuel injection. I needed to get this done so we can also do our throttle linkage. So I'm really happy with it. The design coming back out here is going to help get airflow to the rear cylinders, and then we kind of tipped everything back here to try to help promote the front cylinders as well. It turned out really well. and the black gloss finish that we put on it really shines on it. I'm very happy. Morning, everybody. Back at it for Sunday. This is going to be the last day of working on Greg's to-do list of Greg's Getting Stuff Done weekend. I have a limited schedule today because I'm actually leaving early today. It is Super Bowl Sunday. Not leaving for the Super Bowl stuff. I actually have to go film a podcast with Lil Pickle Racing from up in Canada. So we're going to work here for a couple of hours and knock some more stuff out. We have about, I counted, it's like 16 items that we have on here. And I've got 8 of them done, so I'd really like to try to get 2 to 4 more of these done real quick. Would make me feel pretty good about the weekend. So we're going to tackle right now mounting the fuel cell. We're going to finish the fuel cell with some of the fittings and the filler cap. And I'm also thinking, since we're going to be up front, mounting the crank trigger. After that, we can go ahead and see what else we have some time for and start tackling that. But if we can get those maybe 2-4 items done on here, be a pretty good weekend, for more progress on this car. Okay, at the front of the car here, as you see, fuel cell is kind of just in place. We've got it up on blocks. From earlier in the video, we have our bar extension here for putting the front end on. It's going to be a little bit difficult to see the tabs perfectly with the fuel cell kind of hanging over, so that's why we have that on there. Put the front end on, and it'll slide right in place. So this is the fuel cell. I kind of designed the dimensions to fit and everything on here, and then I gave the drawing to a buddy of ours, Josh Entwistle. He went to his house, and he built this because he had some spare time for us, so thank you very much, Josh. We appreciate that a whole bunch. I'm going to need to measure side to side and square it to make sure everything is good. And then we're going to figure out our mounts. I ordered from Race Parts Solutions aluminum 3/8 weld-on bungs for a 3/8 bolts. So we're going to weld those onto the fuel cell so that way we can make our mounts off of the frame and bolt everything up. After that, we have our fuel cap that's going to be going up here, and then on the bottom side, we're going to be having a 16 AN feed to go to our fuel pump. We're going to be waiting to put the return line on here, just because we don't know where the fuel pressure regulator is going to be, and if it's offset, it may be easier to go to one side or the other. Mounted. See that? Nice and sturdy. I'm going to show you the mounts here real quick. I did, I'll admit it, I grabbed the easy button and I did MIG weld these on. Nice thing about Docol is you can MIG weld to it and it will hold. And since it's not a structural item for like tubes or anything, I went ahead and grabbed the easy button and did that. I'm going to take this back off, and we need to put that 16 AN bung on the bottom and then try to get that crank trigger. It's about 11:45 and I have to leave about noon, so I got 15 minutes to get this done. So let's hurry up and rifle through this. So fuel cell, besides our return line and our vent, which we're going to put on once we kind of get the fuel system more plumbed in up here, is done and mounted, so we can check that off the list. Now I need to put the crank trigger on, but unfortunately to do that I need to put the car up in the air, and Dad has been working on wiring and such in the car and out here. As you see, we have the coils mounted, and once we kind of know the exact area, we have our coil wires and harness done. You can see that he took some time and he has some very nice wire harnesses made, and they're gonna have big bulkheads back there. One of the things we wanted to do this year was, if we have to pull the engine for any reason, we want to disconnect all of the sensors and harness for the engine up at the firewall and pull the engine with the harness there. Just saves a bunch of time on that. So I do have the crank trigger ready to go on, but I also do need to take off. As I said, I have to go film a podcast with Lil Pickle Racing, so make sure you check them out on YouTube as well. Thank you guys for watching. Hopefully you guys had some fun seeing the ton of projects that we got done this weekend. Let's go take a look at the board real quick, see what all we can cross off and what we're gonna have left. All right, so we're able to cross off our mount fuel cell and finish fuel cell fittings and cap. So out of everything that we had on our list this weekend, we were able to get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 of them crossed off out of, I believe, 16. So not terrible. It was a lot of work this weekend. I put in a ton of hours between Friday after work and staying late, all day Saturday and staying late, and then I came in early today on Sunday. So thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for subscribing. On our next episode, we should be mounting some turbos, plumbing the hot side and cold side, and we may have a special guest coming in for that too. So make sure you tune in, hit subscribe, visit the website, and until next time, guys, be safe out there.
Ice in my veins, I've been driving this train. Years in this lane, there's no stopping this flame. Cause I came to the game and I changed it to play how I like, rearranged it to my own domain. Yeah, I got what it takes, made lots of mistakes, taking shots, skipping breaks, feeling lost, feeling